Video blog number 4, take number 3, because I rambled too much. But I just want to talk about last night. The Robinsons came over, and I think that was just an all God thing, because God kind of put it on my heart to reach out to them and invite them over for dinner. And I did. We did. And it wasn't anything special. It was just burgers, salad, brownies, good food, and good company. And yeah, I was blessed because they were there, and it was good to talk and catch up. But also, it was good to hear that Brian has gotten the opportunity to speak at Crossroads Bible Church 6 times. He has spoken 6 times at Crossroads, which I didn't know, because we haven't attended there that often. And he was sharing with me how blessed he feels that God is calling him into the ministry. And he thanked me for inviting him to Crossroads, because we randomly ran into him at Home Depot, and we started talking. And then a couple years back, I just invited him to Crossroads. And it was so encouraging to hear what he had to say. He said, "Jeremiah, I went there to Crossroads, and I listened to Rod, and I knew he really speaks the gospel, preaches the gospel." And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. We kind of connected that way, because Rod speaks the truth. He allows the Bible to interpret the Bible within context. And we could connect at that level. But it's so cool to hear Brian go, yeah, this isn't an ordained God thing. I was like, yeah, that's great. That's great. He goes, but I'm not going to force it, I'm not going to force it. The plan is already in place that, they're talking about, hiring him, but he says, I'm still not going to force it. I'm going to just take it one day at a time and keep my eyes focused on Jesus. And it was so cool to hear that God was using us to get him in a position where he could, be used by God. And it was so cool to hear that God was using us and we weren't trying to be used, So God has a plan and a purpose for everyone. And even if it's small, something like just inviting people to church can change people's path. That's awesome. That is just so cool. But at the same time, it was encouraging for me to hear, because he goes, I'm not going to rush it. That's kind of been where I've been at mentally. I'm not going to rush it. Well, sometimes, for me, I hear myself go, yeah, there's a little laziness in there. But when it comes to like the ministry I wanted to start, whether it was Sports Bar or Hoop Heaven, I rushed it. The last time I did it was within business with Mark Haddo. I didn't rush anything. I think Mark rushed things. He bought things he shouldn't have bought, and then he got over his head, and then he started blaming me for stuff, and I was like, okay, fine. But again, I was so burnt out by how Chris Hall, Julian and Anthony treated me. I was like, and that was Hoop Heaven. That was Hoop Heaven in Wyoming. I was pushing Hoop Heaven, pushing it hard, and it was turning into a success. Unfortunately, the people that I was working for didn't want it to become a success, whether it was taking away from the church, whether it was taking away from what Julian really wanted to do, which was train and make money, or Anthony wanting his name to be out there with his nonprofit, whatever it was. Everybody had their own agenda, and it wasn't Hoop Heaven, it wasn't Jesus, and that's really where, after that experience and how I was treated, I've been just kind of like, if it works out, it works out, but the way Brian said it was different than that experience. Brian was like, I'm just going to be patient, and it's going to be in God's timing, not my own. And that's why it was a blessing to me, because I'm always doing something, always trying something new. And people look at me going, oh, well, what's Jeremiah doing? And I'm like, I'm trying. The doors kept closing, and I would say they're ordained closed doors. People don't like to hear that God stopped it. Oh, no, he did. He stopped it. He allowed certain people to come in and destroy things. And do I think it's fair? Absolutely not. I don't think it's fair. But sometimes things that aren't fair are right, because God knows better than I do. So, with that said, he was speaking to my heart, saying, be patient, continue to pursue God, and when the doors opened, walk through it. That was the blessing that I received yesterday. There's a lot of, there's a lot of things that we're doing as a family, dreams that we're pursuing. But at the end of the day, it has to be Jesus all the time. Veronica is looking at houses in Kalamazoo. I'm going to barber school in Kalamazoo for an entire year where I'm driving back and forth at least 4 times a week. That's nuts. And then there is Isaiah and his basketball, but he's no longer currently playing on the team because of COVID and coaches quitting or going their separate ways or whatever, and putting in time and into the game of basketball with this idea that Isaiah's going to arrive. But I've understood through my own journey, and now as a father, that you never arrive. You can continue to pursue the process and work as hard as you possibly can. And some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad, but the focus has got to always be the same. And eventually the results will come. Isaiah, being 14, doesn't understand that. And he has to have faith in it, and he has to have the enthusiasm for it on a day-to-day basis, even when it's not fun. And me and Isaiah bump heads all the time because of that, because it's something I know from personal experience. It's something he doesn't know. And it doesn't help that he's not playing. And it's just drill work after drill work after drill work after drill work. And it's dad pushing him. And I can see how that can be just, he just wants to go downstairs and play video games. So as a father, I have to learn new ways to pursue him in a way that motivates him to have faith in the process. And the funny thing is, as much as I'm teaching him that, I need to have faith in that as well. Meaning, faith in picking up the Word of God, continuing to read it to find out who Jesus is, not to find out an answer, not to find out where God is leading me, or to read it so I don't fall into sin, even though there's a good idea, there's a good reason to read it. But the relationship, I didn't marry my wife so I wouldn't be lonely. I married my wife because I had a relationship with her. And I think sometimes my relationship with God is like, oh, I hope I don't fall into that trap. If I do, man, what else is going to happen to me? That's not a relationship. That's a boss. And I'm going to just read, and then he's going to bless me by not allowing these things to happen. But if my heart is bitter, I'm never really going to be satisfied until I start reading just to get to know him. And when my eyes are on him, I'm able to think clearly. Very similar to what Brian said, is just I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. And until God opens that door. So it was a real blessing for the Robinsons to come over and be a part of our family yesterday. But at the same time, it was encouraging, you know. It was encouraging in a lot of different ways. So there it is in basically a nutshell. I hope and pray that our relationship with the Robinsons continue to grow, and that we can continue to be blessings to each other, because I just see Brian as someone that, loves the Lord, and I know Grace does too, and that will be encouraging to my wife, and as couples. But yeah, so what I'm pursuing is being a barber down in Kalamazoo. I built a court over the pool in my house. So it's kind of like I have hoop heaven in my house. So I have no idea where that's going to go. I have no clue. I just hope it's a blessing to my son and to my family. I hope it's a blessing to Braxton Picayune or to whoever uses this gym. I really do. I just hope that it's something in which can draw us closer to Jesus, closer to our dreams, but closer to our dreams the right way. Just putting Jesus first, working our ass off, and being patient, and knowing that pursuing Jesus, having this intimate relationship with Jesus, is the ultimate goal. At the end of the day, that's all there is. That and family. And that's where that peace beyond understanding is going to come from. That's where that joy is going to come from. That's the meaning of life right there. And that's what, at the end of the day, you have no regrets. If you're busting your butt and you're putting Jesus first, I have the faith that it's going to work out. I'm not God. I don't know when it's going to work out. But I don't think that's the goal. I don't think that's the goal. The goal isn't for things to work out. The goal is being consistent, running the race, buying into the process on a day in, day out basis, and finding joy in that process, and finding joy in the grind, and being blessed that you have the opportunity to work, your salvation out, to work towards your goals, your dreams, and that's the real journey. That's the real blessing. That's it in a nutshell. Blog number 4. Yeah, we'll go from there.